Hello guys, welcome to the fiction series. Today we are gonna see, what if Naruto was the apocalypse? Part 1. Huge shout out to VFSNAKE for this story. If you want more awesome fan fiction like this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. So without wasting any time, let's get into the video. It had been a little over 12 years since the QB attacked Konoha, the Yondaime giving his life and sealing the demon into his, unknown, except to an elite few, recently born son named Naruto. The boy that the man wished to be seen by the village as a hero before the man died moments later after the seal had been placed, but sadly, if history has taught us anything, is that people never get what they want, and this was no exception. For the first 5 years of Naruto's life, he was hated by the village, and no one told him why because of the law the Sandaime put in place to protect said child. However, it didn't stop the village entirely, since they still found they could take out their hatred on him a more physical manner, and did so before one day Naruto vanished. The Hokage, the previous Sandaime Hokage, had become livid at the loss of Naruto and sent out Anbu throughout all of Fire Country to find the boy that he thought of like a grandson. It hurt not telling the boy the truth as he asked why people hated him, why they would form mobs to attack him before the old man sent Anbu to break them up and privately execute the perpetrators of such actions. When the Anbu team sent out returned without the boy, the Sandaime was heartbroken by the news and put Naruto down as a missing child. It was for the best at the moment, as the councils had tried to get the boy marked down in the bingo book, but couldn't since the boy was still a civilian and not a shinobi, so it was impossible for them to have their way on that. Now here the Sandaime was, sitting at his desk, doing paperwork and wishing that his life had ended the day of the QB attack instead of his late successor. "Hokage-sama. We have an emergency," said an Anbu running into the room and now getting the old man's full attention. "What emergency?" said the Sandaime, as he was preparing for the Chunin exams that were coming up this week, and the last thing the village needed was some internal crisis. "Prison cell number 11658 holding the girl that Team 7 captured in Wave Country has just been torn apart along with the guards themselves," said the Anbu, as he saw the Hokage's eyes widen in shock and immediately left his office to handle this himself. Shortly after Team 7, which consisted of one Uchiha Sasuke, Haruno Sakura, and a pale-skinned boy named Sai left on their C-ranked mission, they were attacked by missing nin from Mist known as Mamachi's Abusa to kill the bridge builder they were guarding by a ruthless businessman named Gato. It was a close call, but Team 7 came out on top and due to the businessman's betrayal near the end, allowed the demon of the mist to redirect the last of his strength towards Gato, while the girl with him was knocked out when she tried to fight beside him. At the same time, the old man's family was being attacked by the late businessman's two samurai goons and would have succeeded had they not been stopped by some unseen force that tore the two men apart. When Tsunami and Inari looked around, they could have swore they saw an enigmatic figure wearing a purple cape and a crimson helmet flying away from them. "What can you tell me about this jailbreak, Tsum-san?" said the Sandaime, as he entered the hallway leading to the girls, identified only as Haku, cell, which held her until the Uchiha, according to the council's infinite wisdom, would be ready to have her become one of the women needed to revive the nearly wiped out clan and keep the spoiled child happy. "It's strange, Hokage-sama. I've never seen anything like this," said Tsum, as she had her trusty dog Kuromeru with her to sniff out the scent of the prisoner and the individual that freed the said girl from her cell. "How so?" said the Sandaime, as he saw the heavy metal door had apparently been torn off its hinges and used to create the gaping hole some 5 feet from the cell. The guards had been reduced to blood stains on the wall. The girl and her apparent savior were in this room last, but that's where the scent ends. It doesn't leave this room at all. Whoever did this, Hokage-sama, made it look like they had escaped from the hole in the wall outside of the cell and leave it at that. However, if what Kuromeru and I smelled is correct, they never left this room at all," said Tsum, as she saw the Sandaime's eyes frown and look around the room for any hidden holes that could have been missed by some kind of genjutsu. "Anything out of place inside this room?" said the Sandaime, as he saw Tsum shake her head and her dog just growled at the scent he was picking up. "I don't like the scent of this guy. It's unnatural and almost demonic if you ask me," said Kuromeru, as the smell his nose was picking up made us uneasy, and his words were doing the same for Tsum too, though she ignored the last part of her dog's words. "Nothing that we can find. The only thing that makes sense would be that the man that freed the girl used some kind of teleportation jutsu, but even that is impossible because the only one with that kind of jutsu was said Tsum, as she saw the elderly Kage wince and she held her tongue to stop from making it worse. "Beyond Daime," said the Sandaime, as he filled the word in for Tsum and looked back at the only exit entrance to the room. "Could it be another Namikaze? A lost member of the clan?" said Tsum, as she saw the Sandaime flinch again, and this time she had no idea why. "It seems unlikely, but maybe one of them did survive through the years and is a rogue agent in the elemental countries. As for taking the girl, that is still a mystery. For now, our official story will be the girl broke out using her bloodline and keep quiet about someone helping in the escape, said the Sandaime, as he needed to keep the council's interest in Haku up so they don't simply kill her and secretly find out who it was that freed the girl from this prison cell. Yes, Hokage-sama, said Tsume as she bowed her head and watched the old man leave deep in thought. Unknown location at the moment. We will be staying here at this location for now, Haku-san, said a quiet but empowered voice that sent a chill up the young girl's spine and watched as she looked around his lair. How did you do that? How did we get from the leaf to here? Said Haku as she felt the seemingly unreal experience of being in the prison cell one moment and in this location the next. Flashback 1 hour ago. Haku was stuck in her cell, barely clothed in grey prison rags, her arms had heavy chakra-suppressing shackles on, and she was in mourning for the loss of Zabuza. The man who found, raised and trained her to be what she was meant to be. A tool. A weapon. But now Zabuza was dead. Her purpose in life was unknown, but she had an idea of what was going to happen to her, and it was not something that Haku would want for herself if given the choice. Haku had overheard the guards talking, practically envying their last Uchiha, and how he was going to take her to be his wife so she could breed babies for him until her womb was empty. Then Sasuke would throw her away like she was trash or turn her into a sniveling servant that did what he commanded until she died by slitting her throat to take away the emptiness. If I get out of here, I swear I'm going to castrate the Uchiha long before I give him any children from my body, and I don't care if I am tortured for it before I die. It will be well worth it, thought Haku, as she knew it would be a few years before that day came, but she had always been a patient woman and could hold out until then to make Sasuke ever regret choosing her to be his baby-making breeding machine. Haku was so deep into her thoughts, she didn't hear the first sighs. There was a fight going on outside of her prison cell and was shocked to hear the sound of her Anbu guard screaming out in pain from being completely destroyed. The smell of blood was heavy, even from within her cell, and Haku wondered who was crazy enough to break into this place and fight the guards no less during the day. Her thoughts left within moments as Haku saw the heavy metal door that was in front of her and saw it whine from the strain of being pulled. The girl frowned as she sensed no chakra being used but something else and wondered what that something was in hopes of understanding it better. Hell, Haku was even surprised that someone was even coming to her cell to let her escape from it and was shocked to see that the door removed with a vicious tug that took it right off its hinges before it was thrown violently into the outside wall, creating a large hole for it to escape from. They should know better, said the powerful yet strangely quiet voice, and the figure that was behind it appeared before Haku with a presence reserved only for daimyos, or even dare she think it an emperor. Who are you? Said Haku as she saw this robed figure with a crimson helmet now staring down at her, and he certainly looked like some kind of a feudal lord. My name is not important right now for you to know, my dear. What is important is for you to come with me to freedom and be given a purpose outside of being the Uchiha's baby maker in the near future, said the figure as he waved a hand on her shackles and they instantly broke into hundreds of pieces. How does he know that? Is this some kind of trick? Thought Haku as she felt her chakra was no longer suppressed and saw her chance to escape the cell she had been placed in for several months now. No. This is not a trick, Haku-san. I am here to give you life. I am here to give you hope. I am here to give you sanctuary, said the now gentle voice as he moved his right hand forward for her to take and saw Haku was reluctant to reach out for it. I will take it if you tell me your name, said Haku as she expected him to retract his hand and leave before sealing her up again using whatever power he used originally to free her. Instead, he just looked at her and Haku felt the figure's aura shift slightly from gentle to imposing to being somewhere in the middle. I go by several names, Haku-san, but if I am to go by a name in which to go by during your time with me, then you can call by the name Apocalypse, said the figure as he saw Haku look at him in fear since that name wasn't exactly inviting and saying I am your friend. Please trust me written all over it. However, the alternative of staying here in this prison wasn't exactly friendly either, and at least outside of the cell, Haku would be given a purpose other than breeding children. Then I accept your invitation to Sanctuary, Apocalypse-sama, said Haku as she took his hand and instantly felt a surge of something run through her body. As I knew you would, said Apocalypse as he smiled at her behind his helmet and in an instant he teleported them out of the cell to Haku's newly acquired freedom. Then flashback. My little secret that I will answer soon enough. For now, you must rest and regain your lost strength. When you awaken from your slumber, new clothes and food will be by your bed, said the voice as he waved his hand over a metal door and revealed Haku to her room. Thank you, Apocalypse-sama, said Haku as she bowed before heading to her room, which was clearly much better than her prison cell, and fell asleep instantly upon falling on the bed. Sleep well, Haku-san. Soon you will need your strength to train, and I will not go easy on you, thought Apocalypse as he walked towards his room, removed his clothes, and slept peacefully for once without the need to fear someone was going to kill him in his sleep. Konoha Tower the next day. She escaped, said Homura as he looked at his former teammate in shock, and the Hokage nodded, seeing the council shocked by this, while some of the clan heads were still secretly happy the girl escaped since they felt the girl shouldn't be used just for the Uchiha's amusement. Yes. From what we gathered, one of the guards entered Haku's cell, though for whatever reason is unknown, and in some form of rage, was able to kill both guards before using her cell door to make a wall in the corridor to escape outside, said the Sandayami. As he lied for the most part about the girl's escape, since telling them that some unknown figure had helped would only make them all paranoid with the upcoming Chunin exams. Such strength for a weakened girl. She will make a fine wife for the Uchiha once she is captured and re-educated into learning her place and being the obedient wife for the boy, said a civilian councilman, as he saw this girl as someone the Uchiha would want, since the boy liked only the most powerful of girls, and this one would definitely be of interest. Which is why the shinobi that find her should be ordered to bring the girl back alive and untouched so the Uchiha can take her when he's ready, said Danzo, with many in agreement with him, and the Hokage let out a small sigh. Naruto, are you still alive? And if so, do you know the truth about your family? Thought the Sandayami as he closed his eyes and tried to block out the young boy responsible for stopping the kidnapping of Hyuga Hinata when she was 3 years old. How the old Sarutobi remembered that night oh so well, and not just because of the Kumo ambassador kidnapping Hinata, but rather Naruto secretly being the one to save the girl and be the secret hero behind the event. The man almost got away when Naruto, who was kicked out of the orphanage for talking back to the lady running it, saw the figure of the Kumo ambassador running off with a large bag over his shoulder and tackled the man to the ground before flaring his chakra to alert any Hyuga still awake. What Naruto didn't know was that the alarms around the Hyuga compound were chakra sensitive to alert people of intruders from small infiltrations to large-scale attacks. Hiashi was the one who sensed the chakra flare first moments before appearing around the corner to see the man turn around before killing him with a gentle fist strike. After that, Hinata was asked if she saw anything before and after her capture since the time of her kidnapping to the point of Hiashi killing him did not make sense. Hinata later admitted to her father and the Sandayami that she felt her capturer stumble, along with sensing the intense chakra that was felt moments later. The Ashi then spoke to the Hokage privately and informed the Sandayami he felt Naruto's chakra signature, which set off the alarms in the Hyuga compound. The Sandayami went to question Naruto, but the boy simply shrugged and quietly denied it, though the old Hokage knew better. Which was why he kept one of his more loyal Naruto watchers within the Anbu on the boy and reported back what he learned from Naruto's time in the orphanage. Needless to say, the lady running the place was never seen again shortly after the report, and Naruto's life improved for the better after that while living there for a time. But that was regrettably in the past, and the present currently demanded the Hokage's full attention. Forest of Death, second part of the exam. Anko struggled to hold herself up against the tree as her former sensei and traitor to the leaf looked on with a sick smile of satisfaction. While a failure in his eyes, Anko knew that Orochimaru was a man that took pride in any student he had, and she was a handful of them that had survived what he gave her that killed many when given to them. Of course, such things were hardly a blessing when it came to the leaf and how they felt about students of traitors to the village, regardless if the student was also a victim just like everyone else. She got the occasional death threats, letters to just end her pathetic life, and several failed attempts of personal justice from various people in the leaf. Didn't matter though, as her loyalty was to the Hokage, and he had yet to do something that would challenge her trust in him. Don't look so surprised, Anko-chan. I am your sensei after all. Everything you know, I know, and can do so much better, said Orochimaru, as he had his sword on his tongue in a mocking manner and was about to use it to end his former student's life. It would have happened had Anko not been saved by two simple actions beyond her control. 1. A figure appeared out of nowhere in a crimson-like flash with 3 metal blades coming out of his knuckles and locked Orochimaru's glowing blade between them. 2 was another set of blades from the other hand that sliced off the Sanin's tongue. The figure freed the sword from the slimy remains of Orochimaru's tongue before looking the blade over in admiration. Interesting blade. I think I'll keep it, said the figure as the blades in his hands retracted back into his knuckles and saw the Sanin glare at him hatefully while clutching his now bloody mouth. Who are you? What business do you have in interfering with my affairs? Said an angry Orochimaru while bepising this foe before him and saw that he was not part of the leaf, if from what Anko's surprised face any indication. What I am is something far beyond you. Just as you are far beyond her, said the figure as he pointed to Anko, who tensed at his finger pointing and saw the Sanin snarling in anger at being considered lower than someone else. I can't win if the two decide to fight me. His teleportation jutsu seems to surpass even that of the Yondaime, and those blades withstood the Kusanagi too, thought Orochimaru as he saw the imposing figure and decided discretion was the better part of valor before being swallowed up by the tree trunk behind him. Howard thought the figure as he levitated away and would have left quietly had a pair of snakes not wrapped around his form. "You're not going anywhere. I want answers," said Anko as she used a hidden shadow snake jutsu on him and was surprised how the figure turned to glare at her with glowing blue eyes from the crimson helmet. "I just saved your life, Anko-san. That can change if you don't release me," said the figure with his voice leaving no room for her to argue. "Sorry pal, but if you knew me, then you would realize I am a glutton for punishment and I'm not about to back away now," said Anko smirking at the figure as she saw the figure narrow his eyes at her and readied her other arm to shoot out snakes from that sleeve to bind him in her trap. "You can handle physical pain, Anko-san, but you have no strength against the pain one locks away within the mind," said the figure as he used his psychic powers on Anko and invaded her mind to reveal all her secrets to him. Her time being Orochimaru's apprentice. His betrayal to Anko and Konoha along with the failed curse seal on her neck. The council's arguing in front of Anko about sentencing her to death or imprisonment while keeping her sedated in the belief she couldn't hear them. The people hating Anko for her past relationship with Orochimaru. By the time it was over, Anko was on the ground clutching her head in pain, screaming out for it to stop and the tears that flooded down her face. The figure knelt down in front of Anko and placed a hand on her head before using his psychic powers to stop the pain he had inflicted upon the poor woman. With the pain now over, Anko collapsed forward with her head on his shoulder before unconsciousness took hold, and the next time the special Jounin woke up, she was in the central tower of the Forest of Death. On her stomach was a note saying "I'm sorry" on it. Just what is going on? Thought Anko as she felt strange over the fact that someone was able to cause her so much pain and yet apologize for it later on. Central Tower Hokage's secondary office. The Sandaime felt older than ever before as he heard the information Anko had given him and was even worse, if at all possible, was the fact that this figure that saved Anko also had some form of psychic power that far surpassed the Yamanaka clan. Another thing to be worried about was the metal blades that came out of the knuckles and how the figure simply appeared in a crimson flash of light. "Is it really you, Naruto? Are you alive?" Thought the Hokage as various possibilities ran through his head about what happened to Naruto, and one of them was that the QB was trying to break free. Only for the demon's plan to backfire in the process if only partially. "Hokage-sama, do you believe this is the same person who freed the Taku girl?" said Anko as she had been there with Tsume when they investigated and one of the people the Hokage trusted with the truth. "Possibly. We'll have to look into this later as the appearance of Orochimaru and Konoha is going to take top priority and cannot be ignored in the slightest," said the Sandaime as he looked at the drawing of the figure Anko had made of the enigma that saved her from the Sanin's grasp. "Do you think he has something planned for the Chunin exams?" said Anko as she knew that with all that was going on, the Hebe could easily try something and cripple the Leaf before he could be stopped. "Yes. We won't worry about it now though. We will wait until the month of waiting for the finals in the exam to get our defenses in order. Orochimaru knows Konoha inside and out, so we have to look at every weakness within the village he may exploit before strengthening it," said the Sandaime as he knew Anko was going to do her part and then some to ensure that Orochimaru didn't so much as spit inside the leaf. Unknown location 2 weeks later. The figure stared out from his cylinder tube of liquid that was around him as he breathed into the mask that fed him oxygen into his body and kept him alive. He knew where he was at this moment as this dream had happened before every time he slept and it never went away. It was place where his predecessor prepared him to take over the title of Apocalypse. His arms were chained at the wrist, his legs up to his waist were covered in some kind of liquid foam, and tubes were connected to critical areas of his body. This was just months prior to his release. "Soon my successor. Soon you will be perfected and no one will stand against you. I only wish I would be alive to see it and mold you further to make sure you truly follow the path I have set for you," said the figure on the other side of the glass as he walked over to a computer console and typed in a few commands into it before leaving. The boy soon felt an incredible amount of pain. And then everything went dark. Haku awoke with a start as she felt that something was wrong and quickly got dressed before exiting her room to check on the person who saved her. She walked along the halls of the place that was her home, though whether it was temporary or not still remained to be seen. Ever since Apocalypse saved her, Haku had trained nearly every day and even more on Kenjutsu with the sword that the man had taken from Orochimaru himself. Making her way to Apocalypse's room, Haku arrived at the man's door and debated with herself in entering the room. She didn't know if even getting this close to him was even allowed, but Haku knew that if she didn't help him, then she would have no way to repay him for freeing her from that prison. She was relieved when the door opened to reveal the young man that revealed himself to her and immediately bowed her head in submission to his presence. He looked at Haku before using his telepathy to find out that she was picking up on his dreams unknowingly thanks to his psychic powers that he still needed better control over. "Is there something wrong, Haku-san?" said Apocalypse as he looked at the slightly older girl in front of him and acted like he didn't know about what she saw in her dreams. "No, Apocalypse-sama. I was just," said Haku as she wished to tell him some form of lie, but it just wasn't in her to do so, and the fact that he could read her mind like a book also stopped whatever she wished to say, since he would know if it was a lie. "You are troubled by the dream you had," said Apocalypse as he saw Haku look down in shame at not speaking truthfully from the start and hoped her death would be quick. Instead, the mysterious figure chuckled and patted Haku on the head before commanding the girl to follow him. "You are not upset, Apocalypse-sama," said Haku as she followed him to a large circular room where there was a chair, a computer system more advanced than anything she had ever seen before, and a weird helmet device different from the crimson one he wore. "No. The fault lies squarely on my shoulders. My psychic powers are still in the need of being controlled properly without projecting them upon the person closest to me. In a few years, I will have full control over my powers and will be unstoppable. My predecessor had intended for me to awaken by that point, but he miscalculated on the fact that there was something in my body that would cause me to awaken early, and while I will gladly take up the title of Apocalypse, I will seek to do things my own way," said Apocalypse as he removed his crimson helmet after sitting down and revealed spiky blonde with red striped hair with incredible blue slitted eyes that glowed with intense power behind them. "What was the miscalculation?" said Haku as she realized her savior was not an adult but a boy a few years younger than her, and yet that made little difference in her mind. "The QB sealed inside of me. The demon fox that attacked Konoha a little over 12 years ago one night on October 10th, which also happens to be my birthday, and the day that I hate above all others," said the boy as he put the second helmet on his head and smiled at seeing a map of the elemental countries pop up with various red spots filling certain areas on the map. "You are what people call a demon vessel or human sacrifices used to seal up demons," said Haku as she knew from what Zabuza told her how lucky she was not being one of them, since they get the real short end of the stick with people hating them every single day of their life and are attacked at a young age every so often in order to keep them from ever thinking they could turn on the village. "Yes. I can tell you don't hate me for what I hold, as you can understand how unfair it is to be hated for something that wasn't your fault and will still follow me. However, I still need more people to rally behind me, and for that to happen, I must seek out those that have been placed in a living hell like us," said the boy as he focused on demon vessels like himself and found them scattered through the elemental countries. "Who do you have in mind, Apocalypse-sama?" said Haku as she saw the screen and wondered what all this meant for her. "My fellow kin, who were used as sacrifices and hated like I was. We will come together along with others that were hated like you were, Haku-san, and create a sanctuary where we can all be happy together. My predecessor may have wanted me to wipe out the world so I could rule over the elemental countries, but that is not how I see things, and I have my own plans for those that wronged us," said the young Apocalypse as he sensed one of his kin in Konoha already, 2 more in Kumo, 2 in Iwa, 2 in Mist, and the last one in the hidden waterfall village. "What was your name before you took your predecessors?" said Haku as she instantly kicked herself mentally and told herself it was none of her business. "Naruto. My name was Namikaze Naruto. The son of the Yondaime. The very man who sealed the QB inside of my body and condemned me to suffering," said Apocalypse as he scowled at the information that his predecessor put into his mind during the years being turned into what he was now. His own father sealed the fox inside of him? Thought Haku in shock as she looked on at the boy in the chair before looking at the large screen showing various bloodline limit-based clans and saw there was quite a large number scattered throughout the elemental countries. "The first thing we need to do is crash the Chunin exam finals that will take place in 2 weeks' time. Apparently, the Uchiha is fighting Shukaku's vessel and there is going to be a big invasion being planned. In that time, we're going to crash not only the exams but the invasion as well, and we're going to let everyone within the elemental countries know of our existence," said the Namikaze as he smiled deviously the screen knowing how to put this to his advantage and really sock it to the various hidden villages. "Can we really do that with just the 2 of us, Apocalypse-sama?" said Haku as she saw the boy remove the helmet and look at her dead in the eyes with his intense blue ones. "Yes, we can, Haku-san. Believe me when I say we can. All we need to do is leave breadcrumbs for the leaf to follow where we want them to follow, and when the time is just right," said Naruto as he smiled and saw Haku's eyes widen in realization at what he had planned. "You're going to help them prepare for the invasion by leaving clues," said Haku as she saw his smile increase and he rose from his seat now hovering in front of her with his crimson helmet back on. "Yes. I want both sides alert and ready to fight each other, so when the time comes, I can turn it all against them, and Crush would hope they have a claiming victory," said the boy formerly known as Naruto, as he heard QB howl with laughter at the fiendish way things were going, and was proud of the boy, regardless of being the Yondaime's very own offspring. "I will double my training then," said Haku, as she was not about to let the Namikaze down, and would prove he was right to free her from that prison cell. "Glad to hear it, Haku. Now I need to go pay a visit to a certain someone within Konoha's hospital." "Someone who I haven't seen in a long time," said the Namikaze boy before he vanished in a crimson flash that left only a small amount of smoke. Konoha Hospital. Hinata sat in her bed in a resting upright position with a sad look on her face as she felt so weak and helpless while recalling how she lost to Neji in the preliminaries. She had fought her cousin in a toe-to-toe fight of gentle fist and lost painfully to him. Hinata also found that her words to him after his soon-to-be victory only seemed to make Neji hate her even more and was about to strike at the, quite literally, finishing blow had the other Jounin senseis not interfered before she collapsed. Still, despite her defeat at Neji's hands, there was a small personal victory for herself in this battle and proved she was not the pushover that everyone believed she was. Yuhi Kurenai had expressed how proud she was of Hinata for showing such strength and had asked where it came from. Hinata could only blush before looking away while thinking back to when she was 3 and how she was saved by that blonde boy that risked his life for her. Hinata had secretly used the Byakugan to see past the bag that held her that night and saw the incredible wave of chakra the blonde, later learning his name was Naruto, was generating. He looked like a god when she saw him. Unfortunately, Hinata couldn't activate her bloodline again for a few more years, which the girl believed later on was because it happened on an involuntary reflex and due to the output of chakra Naruto had unleashed that night. After that night, the Hyuga heiress began to train harder for her father, using that event to inspire her to do better, and for a time it worked. Before disaster struck. Her dear sweet uncle Hyuga Hisashi had been killed with his body being sent to Kumo to prevent a war with him, then Hinata's mother died shortly after giving birth to her sister Hanabi. Then the biggest one in Hinata's life after that happened with Naruto, the boy she drew her inspiration from went missing, and no one seemed to care that he was gone. With her inspiration gone, Hinata's training declined, and her father's coldness at her weakening made things even worse. He focused more time on Hanabi and Neji, while sending her off to be watched over by Kurenai before being put on Team 8. "Thinking about the past I see," said Apocalypse as he appeared in front of her window and scared the poor girl deeply from the action. "Who are you?" said Hinata as she saw the powerful intimidating figure currently floating before her and wished she had enough chakra to flare to alert the shinobi in the area. "I am many things, dear Hyuga. I go by many names. Not all of them kind ones. As for why I am here, I merely wish to see you and to congratulate you on showing incredible strength in your fight against your cousin," said Apocalypse as he saw the girl look down at that and saw her memories of that moment flash through her mind. I still lost," said Hinata as she wished she had done better and proved she was not the weakling her family made her out to be. "But you lost honorably. If you wanted to win easily, all you would have to do is activate the seal on your cousin's forehead and make him submit," said Apocalypse as he saw the girl look up at him in surprise and wondered if Neji knew that fact. "I could never do that to Neji. He's family," said Hinata as she hated the cage bird seal and never used it on any of the branch family members. "Yes. Family should never be divided like they are with yours. However, do not let this defeat stop you from getting stronger and remember that you learn more through defeat than from a victory," said Apocalypse as he put a gentle hand on her head and Hinata was afraid at first before she felt the soothing sensation that came with it. "Could you tell me your name?" said Hinata as she felt herself getting sleepy and for a moment she thought she saw the eyes of the boy she had not seen after so many years. "My name is Apocalypse, but at one time you knew me as Naruto," said the Namikaze as he used one of his powers to split his crimson helmet in half to reveal his face to the Hyuga heiress and used his psychic powers to reinforce the need to sleep in the girl. "Naruto-kun," said Hinata as she saw the handsome boy one more time after so many years and fell asleep with a smile on her face. "Sleep, Hinata-chan. You will need it for the things that are to come," said Apocalypse as he put his helmet back on and teleported out of the room. Hokage Tower 1 week later. "Are you sure about this?" said the Sandaime as he finally had his old perverted student sitting down in front of him and saw the Toad Sage nod at the information in front of him. "After Naruto went missing, I assumed it had something to do with the organization I told you about and began looking into that in case we were right. I'm actually kind of glad we weren't since my contacts tell me that Akatsuki took the news pretty bad and are trying to find the boy too," said Jiraiya as he had felt guilty for leaving his godson in the Leaf Village and not helping him when the boy needed it. "I want you to keep searching for him after the Chunin exams are over. If one of the other villages manage to get a hold of Naruto, they will either turn him into a weapon or wait until he's old enough to sire a child to claim the inheritance that his father left, said the Sandaime as he saw Jiraiya nod and scowl at the same time. What the hell were you thinking when you let the councils push you around? To deny Naruto his father's inheritance. His mother's too. What possessed you to take away all the boy should have and let the people hate Naruto so much? Said Jiraiya as he saw the old Hokage wince at those questions and knew the old man's heart was not in this job. I thought at the time it was in the best interest of Naruto and hoped the masses would be able to calm themselves after a short time, said Sarutobi as he saw Jiraiya look at him like he was an idiot and the old Hokage could only look away. Did you tell yourself that when Naruto was on the receiving end of their hatred, of their attacks, and all the other abuse they threw his way? Said Jiraiya as he gave his sensei a piercing glare and the Sandaime looked down in shame. Yes. I was so deep in my own lie, I didn't have the heart to admit the truth to myself, and before I knew it the boy was gone, said the Sandaime as he looked up and saw Jiraiya by the window ready to leap out of it. You better pray that I can find Naruto, and he's still willing to forgive the both of us for not doing what should have been done when he was born, said Jiraiya as he saw the Sandaime nod grimly and look away in sadness. The Noha Stadium day of the Chunin exam finals. From the start of the Chunin exam finals, things were not going according to plan, as Uchiha Sasuke was a no-show, and so was Kanuta Dosu for that matter. Hyuga Neji was scheduled to fight Subaku Kankuro at the moment, but there was still the problem with Sasuke's fight that would happen right after that, and with the bad blood between the two clans. It was unlikely the Hyuga prodigy would draw out the match for the Uchiha. Prepare to meet your end Sunanin, said Neji as he activated his Byakugan and got into his gentle fist stance while Kankuro got out his puppets. You're in for a real surprise pal, said Kankuro, but that was more to himself than Neji and was a bit put off that Baki had instructed him at the last minute to stall the match until the Uchiha arrived to fight Gaara. Above in the stands, a single individual wearing an Anbu mask was watching from behind the crowd and felt his loyalty to his old master be in conflict with his new one. The once loyal spy of Orochimaru had met his new master shortly after forfeiting his spot to compete in the preliminaries a month ago. The skilled medic Nin tried to use his skills against the enigmatic figure that had hovered in front of him, but he felt his body constrict in pain from the phantom power his new master used and forced Kabuto into submission. The metal from your weapons, the steel used for armor in your clothes, and the iron that is in your bloodstream are all mine to command Kabuto. I know who it is you serve, and I know he will never let you surpass him unless he wishes to use your body to live another 3 years. Serving me will allow you to one day surpass Orochimaru and prove you are a far better shinobi than he ever was the echoing voice that Kabuto heard ringing in his mind from his time within the Forest of Death. In Kabuto's mind, he knew that what the figure had said was right and that Orochimaru would always keep him at arm's length in terms of power. Well, Kabuto did not even like to consider betraying Orochimaru, the medic Nin wanted to be something more and the Sannin would never grant it unless it was a means to end for getting a body to hold onto for 3 years. Besides, this individual calling himself Apocalypse seemed to have a plan that would forever shape the future of the elemental countries and Kabuto wanted in on the ground floor. Orochimaru-sama said to activate the Genjutsu during Sasuke's match with Subaku no Gaara, but Apocalypse-sama told me not to and let Gaara take care of the Uchiha, said Kabuto, as he knew Apocalypse was watching him and this was to see who the medic Nin was really loyal to. In the Kage's booth, the Sandaime felt irritated at Kakashi, making the Uchiha late for his match against Gaara, and knew this would upset the various nobles, if not the very clients that hired them currently watching the matches. He made a mental note to deal with the Jounin decisively in that regard and saw the Kazekage looking strangely calm for one who was normally impatient about things that didn't pertain to his village. The old Hokage's attention became redirected to the arena floor, where Hyuga Neji had decimated all of Kankuro's puppets before attacking the puppeteer and knocking the face-painted boy down for the count. With Neji declared the winner, the crowd exploded with cheers and praised the Hyuga prodigy in using such incredible combat skill that won the hosting village a victory. Unbeknown to the rest of the people in the stadium, a large invasion force of Suna along with Sound Shinobi were preparing to spring their trap on the unsuspecting Leaf Village. The two villages had been training for this day, secretly practicing in similar vegetative-based environments, and prepared the necessary pieces on this game of chess. They were ready to kill Leaf Shinobi. Or at least, they would have been ready had they not been hit by a psychic one from the figure high above them and the mental command for the two sides to kill one another. The summoning team from Suna, who were all trained to deal with summoning some of Manda the Snake Boss's strongest children, were all struck down and looking like living pin cushions by flying senbon needles at the hands of a masked female shinobi. Some of them tried to get away, but were slain instantly by a glowing blade, and the pieces left would be enough to feed a swarm of birds. Everyone on this section of the wall has been destroyed, Apocalypse-sama, said Haku to her master via psychic link and sensed he was pleased with her actions. But Haku-san. Proceed to the Hokage tower and break into the Hokage's office from the window area to retrieve some documents within the hidden wall under the face of the Sandaime, said Apocalypse, as he knew that this was supposed to be a pincer maneuver, with the allied forces striking the leaf from two sides. Apocalypse felt that just having one side invade was fair enough odds considering who the main enemy was, the age of the Hokage, and Subaku no Gaara having Shukaku in him, that would be unleashed during the middle of his fight with Uchiha Sasuke. It was going to be messy, brutal, and an all-out fight for survival if not to the death depending on your point of view. It was time to see just how much will of fire the leaf really had. Back at the Chunin exam finals, the Sandaime frowned at the fact Uchiha Sasuke had yet to show up for his match, and the people wishing to see the fight with the Kazekage's son. The red-haired boy was currently in the arena apparently waiting with more patience than most jounin waiting for Kakashi to arrive for a meeting and seemed almost bored. Hokage-sama, perhaps we should postpone this fight and wait for Sasuke to fight my son later on, said the Kazekage, as he looked at the Sandaime and saw the old man look on at the crowd of people calling out for the match to start. I can't just show favoritism to the Uchiha simply because everyone else in the leaf does, Kazekage-sama, said the Sandaime, as he knew something was wrong right now, and his instincts that had long since been dulled through time were now speaking to him that he was missing something important. True, but surely the people wished to see a fight of epic proportions between the strongest prodigies we have produced from the young generation, said the Kazekage, as he saw the old Hokage close his eyes in thought and secretly smirked, knowing he had the old monkey. Very well. The match with Subaku no Gaara and Uchiha Sasuke will be postponed for later, said the Sandaime, as he motioned for his jounin bodyguard to inform the proctor below of his decision. Naturally, the crowd in the stands had mixed feelings, but that was as far as it went, and the next match was with Subaku no Tamari fighting Nara Shikamaru. Still yielding to others. You're still the same weak old man you were back then, said a voice that sounded familiar to the Sandaime, as he looked around for the voice and found no one was talking to him. I could have sworn someone was talking to me, thought the Sandaime, as he hated the fact that his old age was catching up on him physically and now mentally too. Had the Sandaime been more aware and looked up at a certain angle, he would have seen a certain hovering figure watching from the shadows of the arena. You've learned nothing, my surrogate grandfather. I had hoped you would have gained a backbone after my absence, but instead I find you weaker than ever, and it sickens me to no end, thought the former Namikaze, as he looked at the arena floor with Shikamaru forfeiting his match just when he seemed to have Tamari beat. Apocalypse-sama, I found the information you were searching for and the mission report on the mission to Wave Country that Hot Aki Kakashi filled out. Apparently, the Uchiha is getting most of the credit for the mission, and as a reward for his valor was given Zabuza's prized sword, said Haku to her master, as she became outraged that Zabuza's personal sword was in the hands of Uchiha Sasuke. Do not worry, Haku. Soon you will get his sword back to use to whatever end you wish it to be used. For now, take the information with you and meet me at our new base secretly located in Wave Country, thought Apocalypse, as he had made plans to move to a new secret location once the invasion was over and someplace more secure than what they currently used. Yes, Apocalypse-sama, said Haku, as Apocalypse sensed her taking all the information in her possession and leaving before anyone was the wiser in the matter. Apocalypse smiled behind his crimson helmet, which in a way was a taboo with his old predecessor, and was glad he could usurp the evil demonic thing that turned him into what he was now. QB was in full agreement with the boy as the prisoner and the jail actually getting along quite well after what the notorious mutant did to his body, using the most powerful of abilities being infused into the Namikaze's body. It was only through the damn seal and QB's own demonic chakra that this was allowed to even happen to his young body. Even if his powers still needed to be more focused, it didn't stop them from overpowering his enemies and making the once blonde boy a walking storm of destruction. Even more so was the training that were not mutant related, as the boy's predecessor soon made very clear, should they somehow be cancelled out. Weapon X combat training made Mido Guy's own look like amateurish at best. Why do you protect these flesh bags? You know what they think about you, how none of them have changed their minds, and how they praised the Uchiha boy when his clan was planning to betray them all. So why show them mercy by evening the odds? Said QB, as the fox had found himself inside possibly the ultimate vessel worthy of him and wanted to see how far the Namikaze could go with this. Because QB, not all of them are cruel, corrupt, and hate me for something that was not my fault. Everyone else can burn for all I care, but the ones that are worthy of mercy shall be granted it, and like Haku will be offered sanctuary when the time comes, thought Apocalypse, as he had set things in motion to gather those worthy. And take them away from the hate of the world to be a part of something incredible. Yubi nodded at this, not wanting to say more since it wasn't necessary, and wanted to see if the Namikaze would involve himself in the invasion of the leaf. Winner. Aburami Shino. Said the Proctor Shiranui Genma, as Shino had defeated Sai in combat by using his bugs to swarm to the Incusing Shinobi that was from Danzo's root program. Strangely enough, the people didn't cheer for the Aburami, despite the bug user being from the leaf, and Apocalypse sensed it was because the pale-skinned boy was from Sasuke's team. In the crowd's minds regarding Shino, they felt that by defeating Sai, he had somehow defeated of the Uchiha and was bordering on treasonous against the leaf. It seems I have found another one worthy of sanctuary, thought the Namikaze, as he felt Shino's thoughts on being disliked for his victory, simply because Sai was the Uchiha's teammate, and found it to be illogical in that regard. "Will Subaku no Gaara and Uchiha Sasuke please come to the arena floor right now," said Genma, as he saw Gaara appear once more on the arena floor looking calm, but if one were to read his inner thoughts, you would find he was not, and that Shukaku was itching for a fight. As before, Uchiha Sasuke had yet to show up, and this time the Sandaime was more than displeased with spoiled boy, along with his sensei. The only reason the Hokage gave the Uchiha such leniency was because the councils felt the damn boy deserved it in order to keep him loyal to the village. In a way, it was ironic that the son of traitors would be loved by the leaf, while the son of a hero was hated by those very same people. "Naruto, I have failed you and your father so much," thought Sandaime, as he reflected on the actions of the people of Konoha and how it upset him that so many people would close their minds off to the truth. "Uchiha Sasuke has 2 minutes to enter the arena to fight Subaku no Gaara, or else he will forfeit his match," said Genma, who got a lot of booing and shouting from the people about him being an Uchiha hater. "I'm sorry, are we late?" said Kakashi, as he appeared in a dramatic swirl of leaves with Sasuke right beside him all dressed in black and made all the boys fangirls drool in delight. "Not only are you late, but had the Hokage not delayed the Uchiha's match, he would have been disqualified the boy, and Subaku no Gaara would have won the match," said Genma, as he scowled at the Jounin, who looked sheepish, and the Uchiha didn't seem to really care, since he probably thought he could become a Chunin through the whims of the councils. "Well, we are here now, and judging by the fact that Gaara is waiting for Sasuke to get ready, means he's not disqualified just yet," said Kakashi, as he saw Sasuke stand a few feet away from Gaara with a smirk on his face and ready for a fight. "Ready to lose to an Uchiha," said Sasuke, as he got into his taijutsu stand similar to Lee's, and the said boy in the stands was shocked to see it along with his sensei. "Be copied by taijutsu," said Lee, as he looked disheartened by this, and Guy felt the same way while looking at Kakashi heatedly with a glare when the Jounin appeared net to him. "Mother really wants your blood, Uchiha. Are you ready to sacrifice yourself to prove my existence to the world?" said Gaara, as he felt ready to strike the boy down with all of his power and wipe this insignificant speck of life standing in front of him from his person. "Subaku no Gaara vs Uchiha Sasuke. Both of you ready? And begin," said Genma, as he turned his head to see a figure approaching silently, stealthily, and in a predatory way all in one. The unknown figure had slowly gotten the attention of everyone in the entire arena, with people shouting out for the figure to leave because he was ruining the match and calling for Shinobi to throw the person out on his ass. In the Kage booth, both individuals were looking at the figure with concern, since neither expected anyone to interrupt this fight and wondered what the meaning of this interruption was. "Please leave the arena, sir. There is a match about to start," said Genma, as he motioned for the figure to leave and hoped the man would listen. Instead, Genma was rewarded for his efforts by being thrown back by a psychic attack that sent the man flying 30 feet through the air and hit the ground, skidding an additional 10 feet before stopping. This got the attention of everybody now, as he stood in between both competitors in the arena floor and looked at both of them before looking directly up at the Kage booth, intense glowing eyes. Eyes aimed at the Sandaime. "No. It couldn't be Naruto," thought the Sandaime, as he rose from his chair and looked over edge of the Kage booth to see the figure with eyes he knew deep down belonged to the boy. But what had happened to him exactly? What did the boy become? "Hey. You in the purple robes and the stupid helmet. Get out of the arena now or I will make you," said Sasuke, as he got ready to strike out against the figure, while Gaara just scowled at the unknown figure. "Run away. Run away, you baka," yelled Shukaku, as he sensed who this was, what this person held, and wanted no part of this fight for once. Shukaku may be crazy, but he wasn't stupid. "You're strong. Mother is telling me to flee, but I will do no such thing and prove I am the stronger of us," said Gaara, as he unleashed his sand upon this third individual and was going to crush him before going after the Uchiha. His sand, however, stopped short of the strange person by a good 2 feet before falling to the ground like rain and shocked everyone in the process. Interesting, but useless against an Uchiha. said Sasuke, as he was planning to use this new jutsu on Gaara, but things changed it seemed, and if he could hit this figure where the Kazekage's own child could not, then he would prove to everyone that he was just as good as Itachi. Sasuke, don't use it, said Kakashi, as he saw his student run up a wall and stay there before thrusting his hand down before activating his Sharingan. Chidori, said Sasuke, as he charged forward with the intent to kill and grinned with satisfaction at being able to use the jutsu he hoped to one day use on his brother when the chance presented itself. The figure for the most part simply turned slightly to address the situation with an almost bored look if the facial expression behind the crimson helmet was accurate. When Sasuke got close enough, he thrust his hand forward and hid the purple robes of the figure with a smirk on his face. His smirk left him however when the Chidori dispelled seconds later and the lightning behind it seemed to spread around the ineffective figure. The figure looked at the spot where Sasuke's hand currently open palmed on his robe, then back at the Uchiha as the flash of a blade was seen and heard before the raven-haired boy cried out in pain at the sudden loss of his right arm at the elbow. You should know that lightning is and magnetism are related, Uchiha Sasuke. As such, your attack has no effect on me, and to even try is insulting, said the figure, as revealed 3 blades now drenched in blood before they went back into the knuckles and sent a psychic blast at the Uchiha that sent him skidding away. When the figure turned to Gaara, the red-haired boy was now taking several respectful steps back and bowed slightly in submission. Where is Kabuto with the game jutsu? Thought the angry Orochimaru hidden under the robes of the Kazekage, and still there was no sign of it. Kill him. He has hurt the Uchiha and shinobi of the Leaf Village, said a member of the civilian council, and the people in the stands were also calling for the stranger's blood with Leaf shinobi surrounding him with weapons drawn. Kabuto, it is now time. Do it, said Apocalypse mentally to his newest subordinate, and the young medic Nin nodded before starting the game jutsu that signaled the start of the invasion. Soon, explosions were heard to the east of the village and enemy shinobi disguised as harmless spectators came out of the stands attacking everyone in sight. Up in the Kage booth, an explosion was heard as well, and a dark purplish prison was created around it to keep Leaf Shinobi from interrupting the long-awaited fight between the 2 fighters inside of it. I've waited a long time for this moment, Sarutobi-sensei, said Orochimaru as he was grinning evilly at the old Hokage, and the old man had removed his robes to reveal his battle uniform. Today, I will do what I should have done years ago and put an end to your life, said the Sandaime as he got ready for a fight, and Orochimaru just laughed at him. End my life? You couldn't even protect the QB brat when he was still in the village. What? You didn't think I wouldn't hear about that? Everyone knows the truth about that day and the years the boy was in the village. You're so pathetic that many would think that killing you would be considered an act of mercy on my part, said Orochimaru as he saw the old man flinch at that, and it felt good to drive such guilt into his old sensei. Before anything could transpire further between the two, a crimson flash with smoke had appeared in between them, and standing before them was the figure from below. Both Kage-level shinobi were surprised that happened, with Orochimaru more than Sarutobi, because the prison that was erected by the Sound Four was supposed to be impenetrable from the outside, and all of his 4 bodyguards were doing what they were trained to do for this moment. You and I have to talk, old man, said the figure as he tuned his helmeted head towards the Sandaime and ignored the smirk on Orochimaru's face, since the Sannin had clearly thought he had an ally in this fight, regardless of what happened in the Forest of Death nearly a month ago. I know that voice. You are him, aren't you? Said the Sandaime as his eyes filled with sorrow and guilt that was worse than when he let Orochimaru originally escaped. Yes. I am. I know the truth, Sarutobi. The whole truth regarding my past. Did you really think I would be so forgiven if and when I learned of my parents? How you dishonored them both. How you told my godmother I had died knowing she would have taken me away from here so I could be happy. How my godfather took off without even caring for me in the slightest while he went to do his research for his next perverted book. Said the quiet voice of the figure, and the Sandaime looked away with even further guilt that made even Orochimaru look at him in wonder. Just who are you? Said Orochimaru as he wanted to know the name of his ally and saw the figure turn his head before removing his helmet. My name was once Namikaze Naruto, the son of the Yondaime. Before that, I was known as Uzumaki Naruto, the demon child of Konoha. However, I go by a new name now that everyone around you will know and fear for years to come, said the boy, who saw Orochimaru tense at the first name and took a step back. And what is that name? Said the Sandaime as he felt a surge of dread run through him, and the glare the boy gave him made the feeling grow 10 times over. My name is Apocalypse, said Apocalypse as he removed his purple cape to reveal his crimson combat armor and black pants with matching shirt underneath it with steel-toed combat boots. Okami, thought Sandaime as he felt the power the boy was unleashing, and he was pretty sure everyone else around them could feel it too. And my first official act of vengeance against Konoha is to make all the people that hurt me when I was younger suffer is to make them all feel my pain," said Apocalypse as he grinned evilly at the old Hokage and then at Orochimaru to make the Sannin feel his own bit of worry since this boy was clearly not an ally against the Sandaime. It was open season on the Leaf and no one whether they were friend or foe were safe. Sarutobi looked at Naruto with fear as the boy he had failed to protect years ago and saw the grin now turning into a deadly serious look the child's face. Behind the young boy was Orochimaru's calculating face, and Naruto knew the man's thoughts regarding what to do with this pre-verbal X-factor in his plans to kill the old Kage. "Naruto, what do you mean when you said you would make the village feel your pain?" said Sarutobi as he saw Naruto turn his attention somewhat diverted to Orochimaru and then back to him. "Did you know that one's thoughts are an open book to me the instant I touch their minds, old man? I can sort through each mind and extract any key piece of information I want to for my own purposes. For instance, if I wanted to do my own little version of the impure world resurrection summoning jutsu that Orochimaru has been planning to use," said Apocalypse as he now looked at the Sandaime's shocked eyes and heard the intake of breath from the Sannin behind him. "You wouldn't. Naruto, if you summon them all, then you would be summoning your," said the Sandaime as he saw the glare Naruto was giving him and couldn't say the last word and knew what it was then that the boy had planned. "Summon them all? Old man, I don't want your predecessors. What I want is for you, the people in Konoha, and my own father to know what I think of them," said Apocalypse as he turned around and stared at Orochimaru for a second before going through the hand signs needed to perform the jutsu. "How dare that brat use what is mine?" thought Orochimaru as he saw the boy finish the hand signs and slammed his hands down. "Summon. Impure world resurrection," said Apocalypse as he used the QB's chakra to make the coffin with the kanji for 4 on it rising faster than it would if he just used his own. "I have to stop him," thought the Sandaime as he tried to cancel the jutsu, but all he did was slow it down slightly and found Orochimaru was trying to stop it too. All it did was reduce the speed of it rising, but due to the potency of QB's chakra it didn't retreat down, and when it finally did stop the lid of the coffin fell to reveal the late Yondaime. The man slowly walked out of his coffin, his skin looking pale and his hair looked dimmer than what it once was when the man lived. "Minato," said the Sandaime as he saw the man who was his successor and saw his former student across from his scowl at the boy for using his jutsu. "Sarutobi, is that you? You've aged horribly since the last time we were together," said Minato as he looked from the Sandaime to Orochimaru and then finally his own son. "Hello father," said Apocalypse as he felt his blood burning with hate for the man who had been so self-righteous in wanting to save the village he would give his son damnation to make it happen. "Naruto. You've grown since I last saw you as a baby. How has the village treated you since my death? Did they honor my last wish? Are you a hero of the Leaf?" said Minato as he had hope on his face while asking those questions, which left when he saw Naruto's eyes look at him with a cold hate he had not seen in the most vengeful of Iowa shinobi, and the looked at Sarutobi look away with guilt. "Your precious village spit on your dying wish and decided to take their pain out on me in the belief they could get to the QB. My godfather left right after I was born, the Sandaime lied to my godmother so she would leave and keep me in the village," said Naruto before he began to levitate right off the ground. And turned to face the arena while Minato began to glow with the symbol of the Shinigami appearing on his forehead. "What's going on?" said Orochimaru as he saw Minato was looking as if he was alive and generated chakra that put him back to the level of strength he had before fighting the QB. "My father gave his soul to the Shinigami. Even if you had summoned him, Orochimaru, my father would not obey you like you planned," said Apocalypse as he began reaching out with his mental powers to the people in the Leaf and its invading enemies. "What?" said Orochimaru as he knew that the Yondaime could mop the floor with him and was about to order the retreat when he felt it. In fact, everyone in the village soon felt it and the feeling was not pleasant. Science fact Orochimaru. The brain waves of a single person are electromagnetic, which varies from person to person and in my own case can be amplified by using my magnetic powers. What you will now feel is my entire life in the village before I was rescued and then afterwards being altered by my savior to be this world's destroyer," said Naruto as could feel every mind in Fire Country connected to his, and in that moment he unleashed his memories of his early childhood upon the masses. From the fire daimyo to the poorest bum, from little children to the oldest men in Fire Country, people collapsed onto the ground screaming out in pain and begging the pain to stop. The Sandaime, the Yondaime, Orochimaru, his bodyguards, and everyone else in Konoha fell to the ground with those that lived in it, feeling the backlash of their own sins against Naruto. The children were crying out for their parents to make the pain go away, the parents of the children were on the ground and begging for the pain to stop too. "Filthy demon. Why won't you die? You're an abomination that doesn't deserve to live. Kill it. Kill the demon," Avenge the loss of our families. Avenge the Yondaime. Burn him. Light him on fire and send him to hell. I don't have to feed you, demon. You're lucky to even be alive. I'm sorry, Naruto, but I can't tell you why the village hates you. I don't know your birth parents, Naruto. I will try to find them for you though. The images of the people trying to hurt Naruto when he was a child was merciless upon the people's minds as they saw the boy's past with him being beaten, starved, stabbed, and one failed attempt to set the child on fire. The hurt within the boy's soul at not even knowing why he was hated and not knowing who his parents were by the Sandaime. Then, Naruto showed them the painful experience of being altered by his predecessor to what he was now, and the cries from the people in the village increased to be music to the boy's ears. When Naruto finished, he descended back onto the tiled floor and opened his eyes to see everyone in the stadium on the ground whimpering out in pain. Everyone begging for the memories that Naruto had unleashed on them to leave their minds as they curled up into the fetal position and were shaking with despair. Naruto, however, was tired from doing this particular move and collapsed to his knees, breathing heavily with a grin on his face. Naruto was drained from the move, but he got his message out across Fire Country and let everyone know just how hypocritical the Leaf really was. Damn, that felt good, thought Apocalypse as he got up from the ground and looked at the people on the roof with the barrier now down before seeing the retreated girl on the ground. Without a word, Naruto brought his helmet back onto his head, his cape back onto his shoulders, and picked up a girl named Tayuya if what he got from her mind was correct in regards to her name. He had seen Tayuya's memories as he saw a girl who was sired by an unknown bastard of a father looking for a one-night stand and then abandoned by the irresponsible mother. After a few years after being brought into this world, Tayuya ran into Orochimaru and saw the potential the girl had in Genjutsu before training her to be his bodyguard of a tool. Please don't hurt me," said Tayuya as she could barely see but still knew that the person picking her up was not someone from Sound and that was not a good thing in her already messed up mind. "That is the last thing I am going to do, my dear," said Apocalypse as he teleported away from the others and to meet up with Haku after wiping his presence fully from Konoha. With Haku stood patiently at the border of Fire and Wave Country wearing a protective helmet similar to Apocalypse's own per his instructions. The young boy knew that Haku did not deserve to feel his pain as he had told her the previous day to put it on right after their last telepathic communication and to wait until he appeared in front of her before taking it off. Haku herself felt strange going back to Wave Country as it reminded the girl of the death of her most precious person and what had become of her soon after. Maybe it was for the best as Haku needed to be strong for Apocalypse and could not show weakness in front of him after freeing her from that prison cell. "Thinking about the past again?" said Apocalypse as he appeared a few feet in front of Haku with Tayuya hovering unconscious on a metallic stretcher and Cerebro headgear under his left arm. "Apocalypse-sama," said Haku as she kneeled before him while removing the helmet from her head and cursed silently at herself for not sensing him sooner regardless of his teleportation abilities. "I don't need my psychic powers to read your mind, Haku. I know how much this place brings back painful memories. Konoha does the same for me too," said Apocalypse as he commanded Haku to rise while removing his own helmet with his magnetism and gave the girl a gentle smile of a caring person rather than a vengeful monster. "I understand, Apocalypse-sama. Did everything go according to plan in Konoha?" said Haku as she tried to keep the blush from rising to her face at the smile and remembered she was his tool, nothing more. "Yes. Soon Konoha will fall at the hands of its own people for their sins were laid bare to all in Fire Country. The Fire Daimyo will want a full explanation, including my father," said Apocalypse as he saw Haku's eyes widen in shock and told her about using the Snake Sannin's own jutsu to bring his father back to life. "And the girl?" said Haku as she saw the deed and wondered how she fell into this equation. "Like you, Haku, this one here is someone worthy of sanctuary and will be offered it upon awakening," said Apocalypse as he saw Haku nod her head and accepted his words without question. "What about Subaku no Gaara? You said he was your kin. How will he find you?" said Haku as she wondered if Gaara could find them and if he would want to join. "Gaara won't be seeking us out for a while. Suna will need him now with the loss of their Kazekage at the hands of Orochimaru. As for Shukaku inside of his skull, I will deal with that in due time," said Apocalypse as he was not ready to take Gaara away from his home just yet and had to prepare for the various things to come from his assault on all of Fire Country. "Why bring people to salvation when others will do that for you?" "As you wish, Apocalypse-sama," said Haku as she would not question the motives of her master and the designs he had for the elemental countries. Haku. We have much to prepare for," said Apocalypse as they headed to Wave Country and set up his new base of operations. Konoha 1 week later. Namikaze Minato walked through the destroyed base Naruto used to hide out in with a team of Anbu and wondered if this was really the place that turned his son to what he was now. The place that Naruto had shown him along with everyone else through that psychic attack was now demolished from head to toe, with no way to retrieve any kind of information from the contents that were still here. After everyone woke up, Suna with sound forces retreated out of fear of another attack on their minds, as Orochimaru made his own escape with 3 of his bodyguards, and the 4th one being lost to the Sannin. After everything settled down, a meeting was held with a very angry Namikaze, a group consisting of a quivering in fear council members, and a toad Sannin who couldn't look his student in the eyes. Flashback several days ago. I asked for one simple wish to be carried out after I died. It wasn't a hard request for you to do. So can please explain to me why you decided to spit on it and my family legacy at the same time? Said Minato, as he still had the kanji for Shinigami on his forehead and believed that unless Naruto died or cancelled the summoning, he was going to be alive for some time in this world. That's not your concern, said the civilian councilman from the merchant district, as he had ordered various stores to shun the boy if he came in and deny him service no matter what. Is it now? Are you saying that my son is not my concern? What say you, old man? What do you have to say for yourself? Or you, Jiraiya? I entrusted Naruto to both of you and look what happened to him. Said Minato, as he was ready to kill them all, and every single person in Konoha that followed their lead. We felt it was in the best interest of Konoha to keep the boy properly restrained on a certain level, said Homura, as he saw Minato turn his angry eyes on him, and the old man had to resist pissing his pants. Restrained? You call him being beaten, starved, stabbed, and one case nearly set on fire by a mob restrained. I saw one memory where someone put Naruto in a carrying bag and tried to bury him alive. Alive. And what do? Nothing. I gave my very life for this village, and this is how you repay me? By hating my son even though you were told to see him as a hero. Said Minato, as he glared at the Sandaime and then at Jiraiya for their lack of help in this matter. The boy should have been made into a weapon. I tried to give the boy some purpose with my root program, but Sarutobi blocked me and said let the boy live a normal life, said Danzo, as he hoped to direct Minato's anger at the Sandaime further, but got the anger redirected at him, and those eyes made him grasp his cane tighter to protect himself using the hidden blade within it. You mean those mindless root foot soldiers of yours, Danzo? Make my son mindless for you to boss around and then remove when some new toy pops up. Naruto was supposed to be entrusted to his godparents, but it seems one of them failed to live up to his duties and the other was lied to so my son could suffer further. Said Minato, as he was really letting out his killer intent, and Sarutobi just looked at his successor with tired eyes. I was trying to honor your wish, Minato. With Jiraiya gone, I knew Tsunade would have taken Naruto with her, and your wish was for the boy to stay here as a hero. I thought at the time it was for the best, said the Sandaime, as he was instantly grabbed by the throat and lifted into the air by a very angry Yondaime with a Rasengan in his right hand. If Naruto was being mistreated, you old fool, then his happiness should have become your next priority and be taken away from the village to find happiness. Said Minato, as he slammed a Rasengan into a root shinobi that came at him from the side and then glared at Danzo. You are out of line, Minato. You are dead, have no legal rights here. Even if you did, your son attacked the leaf, not to mention the last loyal Uchiha, and that makes him our enemy, said Danzo, as he saw the Yondaime let go of his predecessor, and off the table he ran across to lift the old man out of his chair before heading to the door. Then so be it. Naruto is now officially an enemy of the leaf, but so long as he is your enemy, I will not help you fight him, and by the end of the week's time I will go see the Fire Daimyo to tell him everything that has happened upon his arrival, said Minato, as he left without another word and went to the place where Naruto's base was to do his own little investigation on his son. Then flashback. Since then, many of the civilians, as well as the shinobi of the leaf, had steered clear of the yellow flash, out of fear of his wrath, with only a small few that followed the man's dying wish approaching him and swearing their loyalty to the Namikaze. Minato had them remove their masks to see they were Yuzuki Yugao's Anbu unit and could tell they were telling the truth. So here they were, looking at the damaged lair his son called home for most his life after that thing took him away from the people in the leaf. To be honest with himself, Minato wasn't sure which crime against his son was worse, and while his boy was stronger than anything man had ever seen, his hatred for the world was disturbing. Yugao, did you find anything? Said Minato, as he saw her looking at the lab area where Naruto was received the metal into his body and saw the place had been torn to pieces. No, Yondaime-sama. I tried to find some form of information that could lead us to your son, but he has either taken all the information with him or destroyed it before leaving here, said Yugao, as she sighed at lack of progress and felt like she was failing Minato too. I don't doubt that, Yugao-san. My son is not stupid to leave behind anything that could lead to his own destruction. Even more so if it's in the hands of the leaf, said Minato, as he ran a hand through his hair and looked behind him to see Jiraiya looking around to see the damage. Is this a bad time? said Jiraiya, as knew that things between them wasn't exactly the greatest right now and was one stupid mistake from the Sannin being judged by Kami. What do you think? Said Minato as he looked away from his old sensei and continued to look around the room to ignore the pervert. I know I messed up. After you died, I couldn't look at him without seeing you and in a way I blamed him like the others did. The Sandaime made me promise to never tell Tsunade the truth and when I asked him why he said that Naruto needed to stay here at all cost. At first, I thought he had someone in mind to take care of your son, but later on I realized the Sandaime was being too much of a politician and not the man that had trained me to stick up to assholes like the ones on the councils. He became their puppet as they played the tune for him to dance to and made sure Naruto never found the happiness he deserved, said Jiraiya as he saw Minato look at him for a second and then close his eyes. You knew Tsunade should have returned to Konoha to take Naruto away after you learned of his abuse and the old man made you promise not to tell her. I understand that, but what I don't understand is why you kept the promise when the promise was not in the best interest of my son. How many times did you peep on women and they asked you not to do it? How many times did Tsunade ask you not to peep on her or do your research for your books and you lied saying you wouldn't do it again? Why couldn't you just break your promise this one time when it was for the good of Naruto? Said Minato as he saw Jiraiya look away and stared at the damaged computer terminal. Like I said Minato, I blamed Naruto at the time for your death and the grief in my heart was too much to stomach while being in the village with the boy. When the old man told me to keep the truth from Tsunade, I didn't think twice about it and agreed to stay silent for what I believed was the good of the village, said Jiraiya as he felt the spike of killer intent aimed at him and knew he was getting off easy if it was just killer intent. Well now you are going to break that promise. If Tsunade isn't already in Fire Country when this happened, then you will have her return to Konoha to deal with those fools while I speak to the Fire Daimyo and you are going to tell your old teammate everything when you find her. If you don't, then I will, and I won't skip any of the details so you can get out of the beating you along with the Sandaime deserve, said Minato as he left the area with Jiraiya, closing his eyes with grief and let the tears run down his face from the guilt that filled him for his failure. In Wave Country at the moment. Ayuya had awakened to find herself restrained in chakra suppression cuffs on all four of her limbs, which were chained to the table she was on, and her flute was on a table no that far away. Looking around, the red-haired girl saw she was still clothed in her Sound 4 attire, and the room she was in wasn't Orochimaru's lab. Where the hell am I? Thought Ayuya as she tried to get out of her restraints and then went to reach for her flute. Of course it was out of reach. You shouldn't struggle like that. You will only make things worse, said Haku as she came into the room with a tray of food for Tayuya and saw the girl scowling at her. Yeah? Well maybe I want to hurt myself you beeping bitch. Said Tayuya as she looked at the food Haku brought in and looked away like it was crap to her eyes. It would be unwise to use such words in front of my master. He will hurt you more than you could possibly imagine, said Haku as she had witnessed the young boy's powers firsthand and even then the girl had doubts that was everything he could do. And who is your master? Do you cater to his every whim? Does he beep you with that limp beep of his while you moan in false pleasure? Said Tayuya as she was rewarded with a backhand to her face by a red-faced Haku and the saw stars in the process in the aftermath of the hit. Do not insult Apocalypse Sama in my presence again. He brought you here because he deemed you worthy of sanctuary and I will not have you insult him for his efforts, said Haku as she walked away from the redeed and left the room to leave the nowadays girl to her own thoughts. Ow. Damn bitch. And why does she call her master Apocalypse Sama? Who the beep is that? Oh no. He was the kid around my age who unleashed that strange attack with his memories and made everyone become sniveling bitches. Like me. Holy shit. Thought Tayuya as she began to struggle harder and began imaging what the psycho kid was going to do to her. You should have really listened to Haku about not struggling so much Tayuya-san, said Apocalypse as walked towards the girl and the redeed froze mid-struggle to see the boy that had crippled everyone during the invasion. What are you going to do to me? Torture me? Rape me? Pull that psychic blast shit you did back in the beep leaf. Said Tayuya as she needed to prepare herself for the pain to come and wasn't about to let this guy get the satisfaction he wanted. Hardly. I know everything about you there is to know Tayuya-san. Your family or lack thereof. How Orochimaru turned you into his puppet to dance to his tune while using the curse seal on you to pull the strings hard should you decide to act independently. I have already removed the curse seal using QB's power to overloaded it without crippling your body, said Naruto as he hovered the tray of food onto the girl's lap before he made the chains fall away from her shackled limbs. You removed the curse seal. But that would mean you stripped me. Said Tayuya as she threw a piece of fruit at the boy but stopped in midair thanks to Naruto's psychic powers and floated it back onto the girl's plate. Haku was the one who stripped you actually before she covered up your female body parts. After the procedure was over, she washed your clothes and then put them back on your body, said Apocalypse, as he saw Tayuya looked at him like he had grown another head and realized her clothes did feel softer than usual. This Haku girl's not a carpet licker, right? Said Tayuya, as she didn't want to be raped by either gender and heard the boy laugh like what she just asked was a joke. No. Haku did it because I asked her to do it. You see, unlike your previous master, I am not going to simply use you and then throw you away when your usefulness has ended. What I am offering you, Tayuya, is what I offered Haku when I freed her from Konoha's prison cell and give you a chance to become what Orochimaru would never let you be, said Apocalypse as he saw the girl sniff the food in front of her before taking a small nibble to test it for potential drugs and poisons that could be held within it. And that offer is to work for you, huh? What happens when I'm no longer able to serve you, oh great Apocalypse-sama? Throw me to the wolves. Said Tayuya as she took a big bite of the apple in her hands and nearly choked when Naruto let out a boisterous laugh that echoed throughout the entire room. You think I am the same as Orochimaru? I thought you were smarter than that, Tayuya-san. What I am offering you, my dear, is a sanctuary from the arrogant power-hungry fools of the elemental countries and a place where you can retire peacefully without the need to sleep with one eye open, said Apocalypse as he knew what that was like. And was pleased that he didn't need to do it so much now anymore. Though on occasion, old habits die hard. And all I got to do is work for you like that Haku bitch. Said Tayuya as she was about to eat something else but cried out in pain and was hit by another psychic attack by the boy. Yes. One more thing I want you to do, Tayuya, and that is to keep your tongue in check. If you don't, I'll use my mental powers to cut off your ability to speak for the rest of your life and might on occasion let you speak nonsense that will humiliate you in public, said Apocalypse as he stopped the girl's pain and she gave him a death glare despite what he did. Fine. I will hold back on my swearing so much for the moment. Said Tayuya as she went back to eating her food and was surprised to see her flute floating in front of her. I welcome you then, Tayuya-san, to Sanctuary. For the moment, you can rest here and try conserving your strength. You will need it in the future, said Apocalypse as he left the room and decided to check up on Konoha to see how things were going with Cerebro. And wait the next couple of days before demonstrating another sample of his power. Konoha a few days later. Many things had changed a leaf in such a short amount of time as the events that took place in the Chunin exams had shaken everyone to the very core of their soul. The kids from the younger generation couldn't look at their parents anymore since some of them were the ones that attacked Naruto to begin with. To them, it felt like their own parents had hurt them and would always flinch when seeing someone from the older generation who attacked Naruto. To make matters worse, the Fire Daimyo had left the Fire Country capital to speak with the Hokage about what had happened and everyone knew that his arrival today would not bode well for anyone. The Fire Daimyo had always believed that the shinobi villages should run themselves with only important events beyond the Hokage's control being delivered to his attention, and this was one of those times. The man had brought with him an entire army of samurai and had a look on his face that told everyone that the feudal lord was going to bring the hammer down on them. It is good to see you again, Daimyo-sama, said Minato as he told the Sandaime he was going to speak to the feudal lord and saw the grim look the man had on his face. Yes. It is good to see you, my friend, but I'm not here to discuss the past or how you came to be alive again. What I need is an explanation on why everyone in Fire Country is practically terrified of Lee Shinobi right now. Said the Fire Daimyo as he saw Minato look grim and walked with the man to the Namikaze estates before he was told just about everything that happened concerning the Namikaze's son. My son has hatred in his heart and believes the shinobi villages and everyone else who abused their power should not be allowed to live. What you felt was all of Naruto's pain growing up until now, said Minato as he wished that things had turned out differently for Naruto and wanted to find his son before someone else did. I see. If what you say is true, Minato-san, then I am guilty as well and should be given a form of punishment for turning a blind eye to the situation shortly after your death. The Sandaime assure me that your dying wish would be carried out and ask me to trust him in this matter. Now I find the old Kage along with the councils have deceived me and defied the laws set during the time of the Shodaime, said the Fire Daimyo as he had let things go on far enough and he wasn't going to tolerate it anymore. You should know better, Fire Daimyo. In fact, all feudal lords should know better than to trust their shinobi villages without question, said Apocalypse as he appeared before them and saw the samurai in the room draw their swords to defend the daimyo. Naruto. Said Minato as he noticed that his son's form was faded and was not what you would call solid. Your samurai will be wasting their energy, Fire Daimyo. What you see before you is a projected image of myself using my powers. I may appear be in front of you, but I'm not, and the reason that I am projecting myself is for you to know my powers are far beyond anything the elemental country's ever seen before, said Apocalypse as he saw the Fire Daimyo look at him with awe and his father doing the same with a hint of worry. What is you want from me, Apocalypse-sama? From the leaf. Anything at all and I will make it happen to make up for the abuse they caused you, said the fire daimyo as he ordered his samurai to stand down, and they did hesitantly. What I want? How funny it is that no one has asked me that until I came to power. All of a sudden, it seems my abilities have brought to me a great deal of persuasive power and has brought the ruler of Fire Country to the negotiation table. It is a pity that such power never came my way when I was younger or someone used it on my behalf to protect me from the fools in the leaf, said Apocalypse as he saw both men flinch and could sense their guilt in the matter. What is it you want, Naruto? Said Minato as he flinched again when his son glared at him for using his old name and the eyes seemed to glow with power. Never ever use that name in my presence again. Understand as to what I want. My list of demands will be arriving shortly via Shadow Clone, said Apocalypse as his projected image disappeared and the Shadow Clone appeared via teleportation before handing the scroll to the Fire Daimyo before going poof seconds later. Slowly, the Fire Daimyo unrolled the scroll and began reading its contents with the Yondaime reading it with both men's eyes widening at the demands. The Fire Daimyo was ready to have a heart attack and the Yondaime was ready to die all over again. These demands are, said the Fire Daimyo as he looked at Minato and then back to the scroll. Steep. Yes, I know, but if it keep everyone in Fire Country alive, then so be it. We don't know if Naruto can do what he did before and to test him may be the wrong thing to do, said Minato as he decided to let the public know about Naruto's demands of them and how defying him was not considered to be very healthy. Some time later. The people of Konoha gathered in the village square as they now waited to hear from the once deceased Yondaime and he did not look pleased when looking down at them. Beside the yellow flash was the Fire Daimyo himself, which indicated to the people that whatever was to be announced was supported by him and would be carried out instantly. I have called you all here today for this special announcement regarding the leaf as it pertains to the invasion of Konoha and as you know my son Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto helped as well as hurt us during that time. What surprises me is that considering the way people have treated him since his birth, I expected Naruto to assist in the invasion and wipe out Konoha like the scum that you are. Instead, he decided to help you, but at a price of seeing just what you had done to him and make you understand how foolish you all were to ignore my dying wish. As such, my son Naruto has made a list of demands to be carried out immediately and to refuse any of them is to meet with certain death. The Fire Daimyo has already read the list of demands left by my son and agrees with me in making sure that they are carried out in order to prevent a countrywide psychic attack that could be lethal if used against us again, said the Yondaime as he pulled out the scroll with a list of demands and was stopped by the protests of the villagers. This proves he is the fox. Said a man in his mid-30s as he had lost his home to the fox and had hated the boy greatly since then. He should have been killed like we demanded. Said an elderly lady who had a relative on the civilian council and had expressed her distaste for the QB container daily. Silence. I cannot believe you people. I gave my life so you could live and sealed the QB into my own son in hopes you would be grateful. Instead, I see arrogant and spoiled bakas who even now blame my son for their past sins against him. Said Minato as he saw the older generation mumbling about him not being fair and his son still being a monster. I see this village hasn't changed much, said a blonde-haired, big-breasted woman as she walked through the crowd dragging behind her a person, if he could be called that, and beside her was another younger woman carrying a very pampered pig. Hello Tsunade. I see you decided to teach Jiraiya a lesson for his stupidity, said Minato as he saw Jiraiya's near-dead body behind the woman and knew that the Sandaime was next. And my old sensei is next. However, before I deal with him, I hear you have a few high-class demands from my godson and you were about to announce them, said Tsunade as she now stood beside Minato and gave the Fire Daimyo a nod before turning to face the now frightened populace. That's correct Tsunade. My son's demands are the following and are non-negotiable no matter what. First, is all of the village's money along with the clan funds be emptied and then placed in an account that he owns in a bank owned in a neutral country. Second, is that anyone among the younger generation who no longer wants to be a part of the leaf and their parent sins against him will be offered a chance to leave to go wherever they see fit as long as it's not in Fire Country. The same can be said for any Konoha shinobi of the leaf who questions the judgment of its rulers and wish to leave will be granted full immunity from being classified as missing nin for a full year so they can find a village to live in. Third, Uchiha Sasuke is ordered to be publicly executed and his body burned to ashes so no one can try tampering with it for whatever secrets it may hold. The fourth as well as final demand is that every jutsu in the village be surrendered to my son and any resistance by the people of Konoha will be put down by me, said Minato as he saw the crowd of people look too shocked to say anything and he left with Tsunade to find the old Sandaime to make him realize his mistake. Painfully. Hyuga clan compound several days later. Hinata sat in her bed, having heard the announcement by the Yondaime himself, and was now deep in thought about what to do with her life now. On one hand, she wanted to stay loyal to the Leaf, as the Yondaime had returned to make things right and had issued the demands of his son, having revealed himself to be the village's newest enemy. Even now, the news of what happened to Fire Country was spreading to other places and bringing about the destruction of the Leaf that was done ironically by its own people. Konoha was going to die along with anyone that stayed within its walls, and there wasn't a soul in the elemental countries who could stop it. Well, except Naruto. Hinata had seen Naruto's memories of past abuse just like everyone else, but strangely enough, she had never felt the mental anguish that everyone else did and wondered what that meant. Several other people like that bouncing off the walls, Dango eating torture expert Enko, was spared the feeling of pain that came with the images and meant that some of the people in the Leaf were considered worthy of mercy from the boy. Naruto-kun, thought Hinata, as she had thought about the boy for a long while and had felt a great deal of sorrow upon him going missing until just recently. Thinking about me again, Hinata-chan, said Apocalypse as he appeared in front of her bed and the girl jumped several feet in the air in surprise. Naruto-kun, said Hinata as she blushed a healthy shade of red on her white skin and pressed her fingers together. In the flesh, but as you know I go by a different name now, said Apocalypse as he saw her nod in understanding and knew that because of what happened with his past, it was unavoidable. I know, but you will always be Naruto-kun to me, said Hinata as she saw him in his ever-imposing form and blushed when she remembered seeing his face behind the metal helmet he was wearing again. Which is why I came here in person to offer you what I offered a few others I have felt were worthy of it, said Apocalypse as he extended his hand to Hinata and the girl was blushing at the thought of touching him even for a second. What offer is that? Said Hinata as she looked at the hand and raised a hesitant hand to it. Sanctuary. I know you have had a hard life living in Konoha while under the strict life-strangling rules of the Hyuga clan. How they belittle you because you are your mother's daughter and how you want to change things within the clan regarding the cage bird seal on the branch family. You know they will brand you with the seal soon with a loss at the hands of Hyuga Niji during the Chunin exam preliminaries. You know they would use it on you any chance they get with a smile on their face and your father will only encourage your little sister by having her use it too. I am here to take you away from all of this. To free a bird from her cage before she is trapped in a much smaller one, said Apocalypse as he had foreseen Hinata's future in the Leaf while in the Hyuga clan and was not about to have the sweet girl suffer for her clan's arrogance. Hinata looked away for a second as she digested all this information Naruto had just told her about the Hyuga clan and knew that the elders on more than one occasion had tried to have the seal put on her forehead. For whatever reason it was stopped was not done by her father's hands of that she knew and Hinata also knew that the Leaf no longer was the place she believed it was. Then I hereby accept your offer of sanctuary Naruto-kun, said Hinata as she took his hand and felt her whole body vibrate with some kind of power that sent shivers down her spine. Good, and don't worry about the others that are in Konoha who are worthy, Hinata-chan, for they will soon join us, said Apocalypse as he smiled at her through his helmet and were teleported out of her room a second later in a crimson flash. Konoha Hospital at the moment. Minato walked with Tsunade to the office of the hospital administrator as he had copies of all of Naruto's medical records and the two people wanted answers regarding the boy that the village shunned. When they got there, the two Kage-level shinobi caught the hospital administrator with a Sandaime with the documents they needed and looked like they were getting ready to destroy certain pieces of information about Naruto. Minato. Tsunade, I was just about to, said the Sandaime as he was holding some medical records in his hands and was silenced by his successor, pinning him to the wall while taking the papers right out of the old man's hands. You were about to destroy some of Naruto's medical records. Why? What could they hold other than the abuse my boy suffered both outside and inside this hospital, huh? Said the Namikaze as he gazed at the documents in his hands and his gaze hardened tenfold. He wasn't the only one, as Tsunade had soon sent the hospital administrator's head clean off his body and out the window of the very nice, perhaps too nice, office. Look at all these injuries and where they came from. Injuries caused by various jutsus. Injuries from shinobi weapons short, mid, and long-ranged. This is cruel. Said Tsunade as she glared at the Sandaime and the old Kage looked away from her. You let this happen, didn't you? You wanted my son to become your submissive puppet to the village's whims so no matter what, Naruto would stay loyal to the Leaf, knowing that if he ever found out at a young age why he was hated he would leave and never return unless it was to destroy Konoha. Said Minato as he threw the Sandaime to the ground and his whole body was radiating killer intent that made the old Kage tremble in fear on the ground. I had no choice. The councils were relentless in wanting the boy dead or put in Danzo's root program. I told them the boy could be loyal if we followed your dying wish, but they wouldn't listen to me and suggested that the boy be beaten into submission to keep him from ever leaving if the reason behind the hatred was ever discovered. I did it so the boy could prove he wasn't a monster and honor your wish at the same time. Even if I had Tsunade take Naruto away, the councils would have gone over my head and made up an excuse to the fire daimyo to have her Sannin status revoked before the hunter nins were sent out to find them, said the old Sarutobi as he tried to get up. But was knocked down again by Tsunade's foot on his chest and the look to kill him written all over her face. Do you think my son would submit to the village's brutality even if his abductor hadn't been there? You forget he takes after both me and Kushina. No one has willpower greater than either of us, you old fool, and all you would have done was make Naruto hate the village at an increased pace. Clearly, Naruto learned of this sometime after being abducted by the previous apocalypse and came to the realization that Konoha should burn to the ground. From what I've read so far, I'm beginning to think my son had the right idea and don't think you can hide information about the spoiled Uchiha currently with one less limb on his body. My son also left me information about Sasuke with his list of demands and how the village treats the Uchiha like he was descended from me. I also know how the Uchiha clan was planning to betray the village but was stopped by Itachi rather than stopping them using Anbu and kept their betrayal in the dark, said Minato, as he had read just about everything Naruto had learned about the leaf and was finding himself increasingly angry with those that he once trusted. The Uchiha clan needed to be rebuilt with the only one left in the village, and it had been decided in order to it, we needed to make Sasuke feel loved should he ever learn the truth, said the Sandaime, as winced when Tsunade put her foot down harder on his ribs and was about ready to beat the last few years out of him. I don't want to hear any more of your pitiful excuses, Sarutobi. I'm leaving Tsunade here to make sure that you know exactly what it was Naruto went through growing up, said Minato, as he left the room and ignored the cries for mercy from the Sandaime, while Tsunade began the process of beating the old man within an inch of his life. Training ground number 33. Why are we here? Said Choji, as he had gotten an anonymous letter to meet at this spot and saw several others like his teammates along with Team Guy, with the exception of Niji there. I don't know. I got a letter saying to meet here for an important secret meeting, said Anko, as she landed from the tree she was in and chewing on some dango. Keep an eye out for enemies if this is a trap, said Tenten to Lee, who nodded and saw Guy being cautious too. Someone is here and he is making our bugs very nervous, said Shino, as he along with his father and several members of the Aburami clan. How perceptive, said Apocalypse, as he came out of the shadows of the forest and with him was Hinata by his side. Hinata? Said Kurenai, as she had been wondered where her student had gone and now grew worried with the girl being so close to the boy currently considered an enemy of the leaf. She joined me willingly, Kurenai-san. Hinata knows the life that awaits her while staying in Konoha and in the Hyuga clan. I am granting her a chance to be away from such a life and I'm willing to give you all a chance to leave too, said Apocalypse, as several large metal orbs floated down beside him and opened for any who wished to enter the void inside of it. Were all those images we saw really your memories? Said Tenten, as she had seen her own mother in one of those memories beating Naruto, and it helped explain how the woman died shortly after. Yes. You now know that Konoha is not the light that shines through the darkness like you were told by your parents. Instead, Konoha has become the darkness in which you were told it fights and is to shortly fall after my demands are met. Out of all the people in Konoha, I have decided to spare all of you from the slow death that awaits those that live in the leaf and give you a chance to join me in my new sanctuary. A place where you are not discriminated by your appearance, by your weight, and by the things that you hold inside your body thanks to your bloodline. Where you can be yourself without hearing the laughter aimed at you by others behind your back and the snickering of you being considered too weak because of your gender. That's right, Tenten, there were several male shinobi in Konoha talking behind your back who think women like you are only good for cooking and making future shinobi via getting pregnant with someone's child, said Apocalypse, as he had seen the memory of that moment in Tenten's mind and her belief those men were talking about her were indeed correct. Those bastards. Thought Tenten, Anko, and Kurenai with killer intent coming off of them. You've seen my memories and they could have been yours if my father had chosen one of you had if you had been born the day QP attacked. Do you honestly think your life would have been different had my burden been yours and things stayed the same as they are now? Your family would have been hounded, beaten, and possibly killed just for the single fact being they are related to you, said Apocalypse, as he saw them all thinking this over and found his words to be true from what he read of their minds. There is more to your motives aside from your burden, said Shino, as he had felt there was always more to what Naruto had planned and the demands he made were part of it. Ever the logical thinker, Shino. I knew there was reason I wanted your clan to join me. Actually, one of the reasons I wanted your clan to join me in making a paradise where we can be safe is because of the hypocritical discrimination I have seen not only in the lead, but in the elemental countries too, and to be quite frank, it sickens me to no end. When you won against Sai in the Chunin exam finals, the crowd viciously booed you Shino, and all because the boy you defeated was Uchiha Sasuke's teammate. How did you feel about that? Said Apocalypse as he saw the boy look down, and you could sense the Aburami boy was depressed by the crowd's reaction. It was illogical and unfair. The crowd booed because they felt that by defeating Sai, I was somehow defeating Uchiha Sasuke as well, and hate me as if I was his enemy, said Shino, as he felt his father's hand on his shoulder, and could see the taller Aburami was beaming with pride at his son's victory over the strange pale boy. As you said Shino, they were acting illogical and unfair over a victory that was yours, said Shibi, as he felt proud of his son, and wasn't going to deny that emotion, since all parents should be proud of their children. As for you Rock Lee and Mito Guy, do you not hate the fact that people laugh at you when you act dramatic? That you cry, hug, and wear green spandex, even though you are considered the strongest in your field of Taijutsu? Said Apocalypse, as he saw the two look down, and he knew that they knew he was right. They mock us, but no one can match our hard work in Taijutsu, and the determination required to push oneself beyond the limitations set on us, said Lee, as he scowled at the past memories of people picking on him, because he couldn't use enough chakra to make jutsus, and only his sensei would teach him. What I have started to create, there will be no such prejudice, and your training methods will be part of a way to train with your choice of clothing being optional and wearing for it, said Apocalypse, as he saw the two smile at that, and knew he had them siding with him. What's the catch to going with you? I mean, how do we know you won't use your mental powers to make us your slaves? Said Enko, as she knew this kid had powers, but not the extent of them, and it was a possibility if he could do other things. You don't. But then again, I have no need to since I am giving you all a choice, and there will be no inferring in the use of my powers on your choice to leave the leaf. But when you look at what is happening to the leaf, do you honestly expect yourselves to trust the village after the people running it have lied to you and manipulated things to the point that changing anything to where they should be now would be impossible? The only thing you can do is trust in me to give you a place where you can be free of persecution. Do you honestly think you will get it here Madarashi Enko? Do you really think someone like you, who was Orochimaru's apprentice, will find happiness in the very place that hates him and anything connected to the Sannin outside of the Uchiha brat? Said Apocalypse as he saw Anko look away and the memories of the councils trying to decide her fate came into her mind. What if we don't like what we see? Said Shikamaru as he saw Naruto look at him and tried not to shiver at the power the eyes held. Then I will take you where you wish to go. Even back here to Konoha if you wish. As I said it is a matter choice, and I am giving you the right to choose what you feel is right, said Apocalypse, as he saw them all looking at him before going into a huddle to talk, and saw Hinata staying calm despite the fact that she was next to her crush. Do you think they will join Naruto-kun? Said Hinata in a whisper, as she knew how the boy didn't like being called that name, but also knew he wouldn't mind if she called him that since her voice made it sound nice. We will see Hinata. I want to wait for their answer without using my mental powers to know what they think of my offer. I must show them trust on my end before they bestow it unto me, said Apocalypse, as he felt Hinata hug him now and looked to see the girl was looking at him with happiness. Thank you for saving me back when we were younger. You inspired me to get stronger, and when you were gone I fell to pieces because you were no longer around. Now I have a chance to get stronger for you Naruto-kun, said Hinata, as she saw him look at her with a smile behind his helmet, and it made the girl glow even further at the rare side of warmth those eyes held. We've all talked about it and we've decided to take you up on your offer in terms of a trial run, said Shikamaru, as he saw Naruto nod and then motion for them to the metal spheres behind him, with Hinata getting into one of them. These metal orbs will take you to my home where I have set up a base of operations until my paradise has the literal ground for it to stand on. There is more than enough space for all of you here at that location until my plans evolve further into what I have planned, said Apocalypse, as he had all the orbs open up and everyone got in the orbs, with the exception of Aburami Shibi. I must stay here for a time to rally the other members of my clan for this, but I assure you the clan will support you when the time comes Namikaze-sama, said Shibi, as he knew that Naruto could read his mind and know he was telling the truth about rallying the other Aburami clan members. Understood Shibi-sama. Until then, I will make sure your son grows stronger and learns more than anyone ever thought possible, said Apocalypse, as he closed the orbs around the group and took off with them into the air at high speeds to his base. Council meeting room some time later. This is outrageous. Said a civilian councilman as he read a copy of the demands and slammed his fist down onto the table. I agree. Minato's son has clearly lost his mind if he thinks we will meet these demands and must be stopped at all costs. Said Hamura as he scowled at the list himself and then looked at Danzo in hopes the man would find a way to fix this. If we knew where the boy was hiding out, I could send my root forces to his location and kill the brat before he knew what happened, said Danzo, as he saw the others around him nodding in agreement and wished they knew where Naruto was so they could finally eliminate him. How do we find someone with his abilities? Said Kaharu, as she saw Danzo look deep in thought and knew the old warhawk was planning something when a root shinobi came in behind him whispering something into the man's ear before the old man smiled. We may have a solution right now. My root shinobi have spotted the boy gathering our more conscious leaf shinobi to his side, and I have a team tracking him from below to find his base of operations. When they find the location, my agents will report back and I can send my forces in to wipe the boy out, said Danzo, as he saw smiles on the council's faces and he joined them in that regard. That is good news. It's bad enough the Yondaime has come back to ruin everything, but the support he has regarding his damn son's actions by the Fire Daimyo is disgusting and needs to be turned in our favor, said Hamura, as they couldn't go against the might of the Fire Daimyo, since any action they gave would be accounted treason. And then the feudal lord could order his samurai to wipe out the leaf. I think I can make that happen if you declare me the new Hokage of Konoha, since it's clear the Sandaime is unfit and someone with a proper understanding of being a shinobi needs to be put into power, said Danzo, as he saw the council members around him nod their heads and began to call out that he should be nominated. I think it can be arranged, Danzo-sama, said Kaharu, as she smiled at the man and he returned it despite his bandaged face. Thank you all for your support. As my first act as your new Hokage, while unofficial for the moment, will stand when it is official, which is that Sasuke Uchiha's arm be fixed and he be put secretly into root in order to reach his full potential. I will arrange for the boy's room to have an accident to make it seem like Sasuke died there to keep the Fire Daimyo in the dark, along with that fool of a Namikaze. While things look horrible for the leaf, I know we can weather this, as only the roots have the power to bring a new tree into this world when the old one falls, said Danzo, as he got nods from everyone and knew his plans would soon become a reality. Soon, Danzo's version of the leaf would replace the old and soon the other shinobi villages would fall to his might and even the Fire Daimyo would have no choice in accepting the leaf as the unmatched power of the elemental countries. So this part ends here. Alright, that's it for today's video guys, let me know in the comments section how was the story and also don't forget to like, share and subscribe. I will meet you in another video, bye bye.